So you want to add collectibles to your RPG Maker game. Something along the lines of this, where the player is able to walk over and pick up the item automatically. Well, to make a collectible system, it's pretty simple. You get the image that you want for your event. So I picked a flower just for tutorial purposes. And then you set the trigger to player touch and below players, so the player can just kind of run through it and just add it to a variable. So like you could name this pink flower, gold coins, whatever you want the player to be picking up. Just add it to a variable you created, turning self switch on, and on the second page have the page check self switch A. Make sure it's below player with no image so it doesn't interfere with the player after. Another way you can simulate doing this is also by having the character pick something up. For instance, I can make the character pick up a tree trunk and it'll be replaced by a hole or a blank image. You can do this for books or anything you want the player to have to click to pick up instead of just walking over something like the flowers that we saw before. For this, the event is basically the same, except instead of a blank image, we changed it to a hole, and we changed the trigger to action button rather than player touch. Everything else was unchanged. We still have the self switch A to turn on the second page, and the second page doesn't do anything. It just basically sits there because it's a one-time collectible. You could also, when the player walks over or touches the event, have something displayed to show how much they picked up. So for instance, they picked up one rock. It waits 2 seconds, then disappears. Just for testing purposes, I use the rock, but obviously you would have to make your own image that pops up and tells the player how much they picked up. So for instance, they touched the log and picked up 1 stone, which obviously it would be wood if I were to actually implement this, but just for demonstration purposes, you can see 1 stone. You can do a lot of things with this. It's just up to you to create the assets for it, pop it up on the screen if you want to. It's useful for when the player collects certain items like flowers, wood, or something else that you could have for that mission. The event looks pretty much the same, except we have show picture 1, show picture 2. You'll have to figure out the X and Y for where you want to show it, and I have it wait for 120 frames, which is equal to 2 seconds. Then you erase the 2 pictures after 2 seconds, turn on the self switch, and it shows the other image, just like we did before. And that's about it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment, reply to this video on YouTube, Reddit, or wherever you may see this. You can also DM me on Reddit at ColdSetKiller, or on Discord, ColdSetKiller, #1524, or on Twitter,